So let me get this straight. West Tigers, Lachlan Galvin has been cast as the villain, Chammy and Danny. And we're going to go right off the top with this. There's no point
I'm excited.
stuffing around with, how was your week and how was this?
Yeah,
and
good.
What are you
See,
getting
that's
for
what I
Easter? No. Let's get straight
I
into it.
like a more friendly beginning.
No.
Yeah, we'll get to that at the end.
No one cares.
Galvin goes in and he's cast as the villain to a coach who bounced around clubs when he was a player and went to another sport when he
you're
was a
going
player.
there?
Yes, I'm going there. And he was painted as the villain by two players who left their previous club to take a much bigger offer to go to the West Tigers.
Wow.
But Lachlan Galvin, who's got money on the table, turns it down. And okay, he might get extra coin at another club. He's the bad guy in all of this. I don't get it. Can you make it make sense for me? That was my view.
When you
this
put it
week.
like that, yeah, it's
I take you're not going to rock up to Concord on Thursday for media then?
Well, I've never been there in my life.
No,
so
that's right.
driven past.
That's
Looks like
right.
a good complex.
well, what we're seeing is remember that word in the Daily Cherry Evans situation?
Smee.
It's become a PR
This
battle.
is a smee campaign.
Well, it's become a PR battle, hasn't it?
And the Tigers were winning it for the first 24 hours. I
Because-
don't know the events of last night helped them though.
Well, look, in the first 24 hours, the situation was that we were hearing that a 19-year-old was saying that he didn't want to be coached by a legend of the game, and that was the narrative that was put forward. It was something that all the media was aware of at the time. It wasn't something that was one organisation went with and the other disputed it, which often happens in these cases. That was the story. That was the narrative that was put forward. That he was being painted as an upstart in a lot of ways. And you know what? Given the fact that Lachlan Galvin doesn't want to be coached by Benji Marshall, it's an easy narrative to sell.
And no one's denied that this week?
That has not been denied. That has not been denied anywhere. And I know for a fact that at the meeting where Isaac Moses spoke to Shane Richardson last Thursday, it was explained to him, to Richardson, that don't bother making the offer, right? Because we don't want to be coached by Benji. Well, not we, but Lachlan doesn't want to be coached by Benji. Because he didn't think he could develop into the player that he wants to be, right? Simple as that. And that is a very hard thing to deny, and it's a very hard thing for, I guess, Lachlan Galvin to wear. He's painted as an upstart.
Yeah. It's as strong as it gets.
And that looks bad, right?
Yeah.
That looks bad. However, the situation is now changing, as Michael can tell us.
What do you mean? What can I tell you? What's
Well,
the situation?
it's changed since then, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's because last night.
They are undeniable facts.
Last night it started to change because Jerome Luai, first of all, put up a post. This is on the back of, mind you, Fanua Pole liking a Instagram
How did you
post.
find that?
Someone sent it to me.
I found I thought Chammy.
What do you think I sit there on Instagram?
Yes,
for?
Yes.
Same as-
Well, you are getting very big on Instagram. You are very big on Instagram these days.
I feel bad bagging him. I can't bag him today. His son's sitting in the room colouring. Young Heat's in the corner colouring something over there. Looks like a lovely house, but I can't bag Danny today.
You can. Yes, you can.
Okay.
You reckon he hasn't heard it yet?
Yeah. He sits in
Most
the
hated
car.
man of rugby league.
He sits in the car when he gets some phone calls.
Block your ears, Heathy. I think that it turned yesterday because the players have every right to get behind Benji, but it shouldn't be done in the manner that it has been. I didn't really have an issue with Jerome, that post that he put out yesterday, team first, because it wasn't a personal crack at, well, it is, but it's basically suggesting that we're behind Benji, it's about the West Tigers. I could cop it, no issues. But then when Taruva did what he did, and Taruva had no intention of it ever becoming public because...
Hang on. How come? What do you mean?
So I'll explain the internet to you.
I was arguing with one of my older kids once, right?
Yeah.
And he was about 8 or 9 at the time, and we're having an argument. And he said, "You know what, Dad? You're not smarter than the internet." And he won the argument.
He did.
Because I'm not.
It's good.
What's the internet?
Oh, he's going to teach you something
Okay.
here.
So what happened yesterday? So Sunil Taruva's taken a photo of Lachlan Galvin's locker at training. Posted it on Instagram to close friends. So there's a green star in the corner.
I know that, yes.
So you can actually
Are you
control
on
who
anyone's
sees
close
that.
friends?
I'm not on Sunil Taruva's close friends. I didn't
anyone's?
get that sent directly. I don't know. It doesn't tell you that you are on someone's close
Of course
friends,
it does.
does
It comes up with a green star. So you're obviously on
Okay.
nobody's close friend group.
Green circle on the story.
I'm not anyone's friend, okay?
Carry on.
Anyway, stop rudely interrupting. So Taruva's then That's gone out to whoever, I don't know if it's 10 people, 30 people, or 100 people in his close friends, but it's made its way onto social media, and I've been made aware of it last night. That's a story every day of the
So
week.
someone of his close friends screenshotted it and then sent it to someone who sent it to someone, and then off it goes.
Yeah.
That's how it got out.
That's right.
So it wasn't accidentally
The
sent to
photo
everyone.
of the photo was accompanied by a song. I'm not from. It's
Shane
about money.
McMahon.
Yeah, I'm not a wrestling guy.
Money.
Yeah, I'm not a
Who's
wrestling
singing-
guy.
who-
That's not
who's
my
singing?
guy.
It was, I'm pretty sure, and shoot me down because I don't watch WWE anymore, but I did back in the day. It was Shane McMahon's entrance song.
Yeah.
And it was money.
I had to Google it when I was writing it.
Yeah.
But, and that, to me, that now starts to reflect poorly on the leadership at the club. And it wasn't that discussion earlier. Everyone was praising the West Tigers for taking a stance, making it clear that Lachlan Galvin is not playing first grade. But when it becomes what it did last night, you start to get into the bullying territory, and it reflects poorly
Hang
on
on,
your leadership.
that's a very strong word. So are you of the view that Lachlan Galvin is now being bullied?
I
That's
think
a
it's
strong
gonna,
word.
I think it's going to go down that path, Danny.
So you think this is headed legal?
This is played into the hands of Isaac Moses perfectly. Because if I'm Isaac Moses, and despite what you think of him, they've just given him the out. They've just given him the out to go to the West Tigers and say, or go to the RLPA and say, this kid can't stay in this environment. He's getting bullied.
Just one thing, quickly. Taruva. Now, we know some rugby league players have very good senses of humour.
Yeah, was it
And
done
it was
in
a piss,
jest?
was it a piss take?
Of course,
Or was-
it would have. It wouldn't have. It would have been sent as a laugh among his mates. There's no doubt about it. But in this
And-
day
and
and
Galvin?
age, what you think Galvin would have got the message?
Oh, just send it to Galvin and just take the, you know how you take the piss out of your mates sometimes. You
I
go,
don't
"You're
think.
going for
I don't
money?"
think. I don't think that's how it's been perceived. no.
Okay.
So take a
I
step
just want to
back.
make that
So-
clear.
Because I'm going to get to a point later. Because there is an issue with Lachlan Galvin,
Mhm.
and it's not just about his contract. And we'll get to it in a minute. But let's talk about this separate incident for now. If they've given Isaac Moses the out that he needs to get him out of that club, to go to the RLPA and say he can't work in this environment. The Tigers are bullying him. He's not happy. How does he show up to training when the players are all doing this behind his back, which was meant to be behind his back?
Yeah.
It became
we
public.
we don't know whether he's in the friend group. So, whether it was sent, we can't state that for a fact because you don't know who all his friends are.
We
But-
don't know that.
But when we look at it publicly, like
Do you
it
think
is,
Lachlan Galvin was on that chat?
I don't know, mate. But I'm just saying to you, we
We
have
don't
to
know
be
for certain.
careful.
But
We have
Danny,
to-
you've heard. Okay, we're
we
going to go
have- no,
there.
we have to be careful. Like
We're going to be careful. But
Yeah.
you have heard this narrative that's been released over the last few days
Yeah.
has been around for the last 6 to 8 weeks. I've known that he's felt that way about Lachlan Galvin, Lachlan Galvin's felt that way about Benji. I'm sure you have, and I'm sure other people have. To write that story out of nowhere in the last 6 to 8 weeks, you'd look like a fool.
Yeah, and you'd really struggle to back it up.
Correct.
Where I think you were ahead of the game on this was your information that there's some sort of situation developed between Jerome Luai and Lachlan Galvin. And I think that is central to what's going on. We can't sugarcoat it. I don't think that they're the Batman and Robin that a lot of people think they are.
Well, so let
Right
me
or
explain
wrong?
to you this. And I'm not taking Lachlan Galvin's side or going
Right or
against
wrong,
Jerome.
but
Yeah,
there's
of course.
something going on
No,
there.
there is definitely tension there, and has been spoken to me by a number of people that Lachlan Galvin and Jerome Luai aren't seeing eye to eye, to the point where I believe Jerome Luai made a comment to him
have to
after round one, Danny, and said, team first. What he posted the other day is don't play for yourself. That what happened after round one when they lost to Newcastle. The reason there is tension there is because Lachlan Galvin was given the keys to the castle last year by Benji Marshall, and they played the football around the style that he wanted to play. He was a revelation, but the reality is the Tigers won the wooden spoon. Jerome
So
Luai
hang on,
comes
hang
in.
on. So are you saying he was the golden boy?
Yeah, I do.
And Jerome doesn't like that? Is that
No,
what?
no,
okay.
not sort of what I'm saying
Okay.
at all.
What are you
What I'm
saying?
saying is Lachlan Galvin didn't like the fact that when Jerome Luai came in, he started to feel ostracised. That Benji had suddenly shifted towards Jerome and Appy Coruscant. Now, I can understand as a coach, you get a 4-time premiership winner, you're playing that much to come and play halfback. Your team now revolves around this bloke. But as Lachlan Galvin, let me finish.
Yeah, I'm
But if you're Lachlan Galvin
Yeah.
and you feel like that the coach has got your back and he's building a game around you, when that gets taken away, naturally, you're going to start to feel ostracised. And that is what has happened over the last 6 months since Jerome has come there,
Yep.
that slowly Lachlan Galvin has started to feel like this isn't his team.
Yep.
And that the players around him, the core group, they feel, Jerome Luai and there's other senior players there, that this kid has a sense of entitlement because they can sense that he is not comfortable at that club anymore. He is starting to feel on edge around those players.
Okay, take it back. I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying because I've heard the same sort of narrative. But let's take it back a little bit. This whole Galvin situation is not a surprise to anybody because there have been several requests for release before Jerome Luai. Okay, now on the first day when Shane Richardson started his job, there was a request for release. So that was before Jerome or any got a chance to have any kind of imprint on the side. So to blame that whole...
No. I think things turned last year, Danny. I said to you, Lachlan Galvin at the Tigers last year, when he was given his chance, things started to turn. He was happy at the club to the point where he was entertaining the prospect of potentially extending to the extending. The reason he asked for a release, Danny, and I'm not defending Isaac Moses because I don't like the bloke. I think he's done a lot of bad things in the game, and I think that he's influenced Lockie in a way that has caused this situation to erupt the way it has.
We'll come back to that, yeah.
But I would request a release too, that in the summer that you're on the verge of potentially playing first grade, they go and sign Jaden Sullivan on a long-term deal, you sign Latu Fainu on a long-term deal, and you buy Jerome Luai. All this happens, of course you're going to want to see the exit doors. Where is your pathway at that football club when they've just signed 3 guys in your position?
Right. Due respect, but hang on, due respect to Jaden Sullivan, right, and to Latu Fainu. Wasn't Lachie Galvin above those guys?
No.
Oh, come on.
He wasn't.
Gus said he's the best teenager
Yeah,
he's ever
now,
seen.
after he's seen him play, but at the time, mate,
But you have
he
to have
wasn't.
backup. You have to have backup for a...
They had backup after. He was the backup to the backup. And to the backup after that.
So you think that's what triggered it? That's what made him...
The release request? Yeah, because I think his path was blocked.
Did they think he was a 13?
There was talk that he could be a 13. Yeah. Now, Lockie's gone in over the summer. He's met with the club. They obviously think he's a star, and it's fast-tracked. That whole request for a release, I don't care what you say, has fast-tracked his development into first grade, and they give him the chance in round 1 because of that. Okay, he earned it, of course, but the rumblings around it and the discontent has contributed to him getting a start in round 1, and he has made the most of that chance.
So, overall, though, you guys know all the personalities, you know all the machinations behind the scenes, you've heard those rumours over the past 8 weeks. I am not across it, for instance, like the majority of fans are, to that detail, but you see something like this blow up this week, and a step back, you guys are involved in it, you go, this is ridiculous. And my entry to the show there was about the fact that guys have come from other clubs on the basis of bigger contracts, setting themselves up, which is probably what Lachie Galvin wants to do for his career and what Isaac Moses is trying to do for his career. Like every footballer, and absolutely no problem with that. And I don't have a problem with Jerome Luai going to another club and trying to set a standard. But I do find it interesting that just because everyone's not pushing exactly in the same way, that one player becomes the big issue, and all of a sudden, all their problems are going to go away if this player goes in another direction? The West Tigers?
Spot on. Because Jerome Luai, Sunita Taruva, and other players have all spoken about in the last 12 months, they've learnt that it's a business. They've learnt that it's a business. They've got to look after their families. Yeah. And if it was one of their close mates... They learnt it at Penrith. Because you got to remember, Jerome Luai didn't come back to training after we wrote that story that he was going to the Tigers. Correct. He was pissed off with the club.
You had that story about Brian Toto last year.
No, that was
Danny. That was Danny.
I was looking at Danny. I meant, I looked at you, but...
No, Danny had that story. But if you actually think...
And it was right.
If it was one of their close mates, would they be doing this on social media? No, they wouldn't. The reason they are doing it, and it comes to the core of the situation right now, is because fundamentally they do not like Lachlan Galvin. They think he's entitled.
Hang on.
Right or wrong, they don't like him, mate. And it's why they've gone to the team, to the coach, and said, we don't want him to play this week. It's why there's been tension at the club for the last 2 months.
See, that's heavy on a 19-year-old, isn't it?
It's heavy on anyone, Danny.
I'm just saying to you, it's heavy on...
I don't want to sugarcoat this because the reality is that's what's happened.
I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm just saying it's heavy for him to deal with.
Do you know who it's heavy with? The whole club.
Yeah.
Again. This club. Again. They're at the centre of this ridiculous storm, and they can't get away from being involved. It's like they live in the tropics and they get a cyclone blow through. With all due respect to people who live up there and deal with these things in real time, every 3 months there's something at this club.
Yeah, and look, you mentioned Isaac before, and
Let's go.
So he went to that meeting and told them we don't want to be involved with this club. You know, Lachlan doesn't want that. He's been blamed for orchestrating this or putting thoughts into the head of Lachlan Galvin. Surely, right? And I went through all this with Sonny Bill when he left, which was a massive contract story back in the day when Sonny Bill walked out on the Bulldogs. Everybody said, it's Coda Nasser. It's Coda Nasser. He's the evil one. He's the bad guy. I'll tell you, Sonny wanted to leave. He didn't like the culture of that club. He didn't feel comfortable.
He made his own mind up.
Made his own mind up.
Coda orchestrated, like not orchestrated.
I know.
But
it was definitely a plan to get him
Enablement,
out. It was
yeah.
and when they couldn't get what they wanted, they said, "Right, we're leaving. We don't care what people think of us." And Sonny was prepared to wear those bullets at the time.
Yeah,
and he wore a lot. He was considered the most hated bloke in Australia for some time. Yeah, and I'm not saying Lockie's anywhere. He's not Sonny Bill, and this situation isn't Coda Sonny Bill walking out on the dogs because he's not walking out. He's told them, and they've got 18 months to decide what goes on. So the fact that Isaac is getting blamed for this, he played a role, but he's the one who's gone and delivered the message.
Come on, Danny. His ego contributed to the situation.
I think,
and so did Shane Richardson. To be honest with you,
but
and so did Benji's.
Chammy,
so many powerful.
Lachlan Galvin is from a good family, right? He's from a good family. He's a 19-year-old man. He's got to make these decisions himself. And if Isaac says to him, "Oh, we want you to do this," he doesn't have to do it.
No, but you got to read the room, and I'm gonna say.
Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think that? No, do you think Isaac is to blame for this? I know.
I think he's fueled a situation. Yeah, I do. I think his feelings towards Benji has enabled this situation to explode the way it has.
Do we know why Benji?
I don't know why he doesn't get along. No,
but it's a fact, isn't it?
They don't like each other. But if you go back to what I was saying, the egos of the people, the key people involved here, is causing an issue. When Isaac received the phone call or had interest from the Tigers, right? There's a way of doing things. And to be so blunt about the way, I think Braithen Astor said this last night. I think it's a valid point. There is a way to make sure this situation doesn't inflame. Tell the club, look, he's happy at the moment. He wants the footy to do the talking at the moment. He doesn't want to begin negotiation. Yep. He's got no off contract or a free agent until November 1. Let's park this till after the season.
But the club wanted an answer.
Yeah, but that's the ego, Danny.
Whose ego?
The Richo and the club.
They wanted an answer.
No, it was a move for power, mate. What if Lachlan Galvin goes now? They can't sign anyone for he's on contract till 2026. They can't sign anyone for 27 until November 1 anyway. What they wanted to do, they should have if they really wanted to keep Lachlan Galvin, read the room. Richo knows there's tension there between Benji and Galvin. He knows that the players aren't quite on him. Read the room, and in that situation say, okay, the only way we keep Lachlan Galvin is if we really want to keep him, is by creating an environment where he's happy, where we're winning, we play finals football, and maybe by that stage, at the end of the season, we convince him that this is his future. We convince him that in 10 years' time, there'll be a statue of you outside Leichhardt Oval because you've taken his club to a premiership. To do it now was going to only end in one way.
Whose fault's that?
I'm saying it's both. Isaac was always going to inflame the situation by throwing it back in the Tigers' face. Oh, we're not going to take an offer. We're going to go. And that just played to Richo. And Richo was like, well, stuff you. I'm going to put out a statement saying you're leaving.
Yeah.
Everyone's ego got in the way of this situation. And a 19-year-old kid is going to pay the price for it. He's going to be tarnished with this reputation for the rest of his career. It doesn't go away. Look at Mitchell Moses. You think he's still not copping it from Tigers fans? Look at all the other players who've done it. I just think it could have been handled so much differently. And the people have such big personalities. Benji Marshall, Richo, Isaac.
Who do you believe that statement from Lachlan Galvin that he said, I wanted to give the club as much time as possible to plan for the future, or was that just...
Nah.
But what else can he say? What else can he say?
Because I've got a 19-year-old. You've got older kids as well. I know for a fact if it was my 19-year-old trying to make a decision like this, he wouldn't be doing it by himself. He'd be copying all kinds of advice from parents, advisors who the parents trust.
But that's what I'm saying. Like to blame... We know.
I didn't sit there and blame him. I'm just saying they contributed to the situation. Yeah. Do I think that Isaac Moses has manipulated the kid to get him out for his own personal gain to stuff Benji Marshall over? No. But in the situation where
it can be read like that, I know what you're saying. It can be interpreted like that. It can be. Yeah.
But in this situation, he could have controlled it more and made him see sense to the situation. Hang on, mate. Let's see what, Benji's trying to do this, and this. You got Jerome Luai, learn off him for another 6 months. Don't try. I think he may inflame the situation, put fuel to the fire, and it's caused this to erupt. Now,
do you think the Tigers wanted to bring this to a head? Do you think they wanted to?
Well, because mate, Richo didn't want the black guy. He didn't want this against his name, right? Because if you go back in time, he's been so strong on trying to prove to people that we are going to regain the upper hand in negotiations with managers. Honor Tony Large, a young kid that was coming through the system there, great young player. Manager last year went to them and said he wants to stay, but what's the point of staying if Lachlan Galvin extends long-term and you've got Jerome Luai long-term? Yeah. Can we have a clause that enables us to become a free agent if Lachlan Galvin extends.
Yeah.
Richo, because of the situation and trying to prove to people that we're not going to be walked all over, said no. So he walks to Manly, the kid.
Yeah.
Galvin leaves and they haven't got him.
Yeah.
But and then it comes out that he's given Jerome Luai a clause. That means he's a free agent November 1.
On that,
Which one is it?
does this help the club remove those clauses for Jerome Luai?
No, I think Jerome keeps his clauses. He can keep
I don't
them,
think
yeah.
I don't think Jerome will leave the West Tigers. I think the manager has put that in there, not so he can get out of the West Tigers, but because of a faith in his client that he's going to be a superstar, and come November 1,
He can get more money.
He can get more money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, again, comes back to money. Comes back to the Taruva song. And Lachie Galvin's not the first person to do this. And I mean, there's been contract situations throughout time, but this is so inflammatory. I think because we haven't probably dug deep enough into the whole Benji coaching situation. I think that's where this became a big story, because he's questioning, or through his manager, we haven't heard it from Lachie himself, but he's questioning the strength or the knowledge or the ability of Benji to be a first grade coach and to develop young players.
Which surely gets proven or otherwise this year with the roster that the West Tigers have got. Finally, Benji's got something really substantial
You don't
with
agree,
substance
Chammy?
to work with. Oh, look at their forward pack and
No,
look at their
I don't-
the experience they brought to the club.
I don't agree that it's solely the coaching. I don't think it's the coaching aspect solely. I think there's more to
That's
it.
what we've been led to believe.
I think it's the coach's demeanour. I think it's the coach's way of doing things.
But this puts Benji in the spotlight.
It does.
As a coach.
Because I don't think Lachlan Galvin is appreciating the way he's been put to the side over the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Is it the X's and O's? I don't think it's that as much. But there are other people in his ear, and I'm going to get to this. There are two guys that are in his ear.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
Luke Vella at the Bulldogs is an assistant coach. Lachie Galvin's Westfield Sports high school coach.
Yep.
Troy Whedon, recruitment manager at Manly Sea Eagles.
Mhm.
Another one that he worked with at the Westfield Sports. I'm led to believe that they are a huge influence on him, and they are providing feedback as to the coaching that he should be getting and isn't getting.
So hang on. You're saying that two guys from another club
Have a close relationship with Lachie Galvin.
I know
Yeah.
those. Yeah, I know that. But you're saying that they're telling him how he should be coached.
I think they're telling him how he should. Yeah, I think there is a contributing factor to that. Yeah, I do.
Wow. Okay. And that.
But that's
I mean,
not uncommon, Danny. That he's got a relationship with these guys
Yeah.
that when he goes back to.
And it's
kid.
interesting you threw up those two clubs. Manly.
I don't think he's going to Manly.
I think. Oh, actually, I think you can take this out of the podcast later if it's wrong. But I think Anthony Seibold came out today and said they're not interested. So
Okay.
It's
but
it's dogs or eels, mate. And the dogs are in it up to their eyeballs, and that's largely because of Luke Vella. And I'm not having a go at the guy. He's got a relationship with Lachie Galvin, and he's advising him because Lachie Galvin's clearly in a situation where he's going to the people he trusts and thinks, "What do I do here?" He's not happy. He hasn't been happy.
You know, he had agreed to the Dogs before this Tigers deal.
Yeah.
He'd agreed before
Yep.
Isaac Moses came back in as an agent.
Para's interest is very real. I mean, Paul Kent said yesterday on his podcast that he understands that deal's done.
I don't think
already.
it's done.
I don't know how it could be done, but
I think Mitchell
That'd
Moses.
be anti-tampering, wouldn't it, Adam?
it'd be along those lines, Danny.
Well, I don't look. The mail I'm getting is that Mitchell Moses has been speaking with Lachie Galvin over the past month,
Yeah.
and that's not tampering. You can do what you like. You're a player talking to a player. Clearly, Mitchell's cousin is Isaac, and there's a relationship there. I think that the Eels are going to go really hard at getting Galvin to the point where I think in negotiations with Mitchell Moses in the last few months when he extended his deal, the conversation would have come up about what Lachie Galvin is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan Brown was always looking elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Eels have known for some time that they would be given a red hot
Hang on.
crack at Lachie
You
Galvin.
think or you know?
I think that the Eels have known for a long time they'd get a red hot crack at Lachie Galvin.
He thinks.
And I saw you on 100% footy. Once again, Danny, on 100% footy, you had the Dickie knee chair. You were like
I know,
in the
he's
first
sway.
segment. You were
I don't know.
the height of your son in that first.
I don't know why.
What's wrong with you?
I
Put
don't
your
know.
chair up.
Yeah, put the oik it up.
I
There.
don't know
Anyway,
how low I'm
I know
sitting.
you look up to Gus, but you don't have to sit.
yeah, you
sit
don't
under
literally
him.
have to look up to him on the show. But Gus, in the previous days, has been accused in the previous days to this podcast, but since 100% footy, has been accused point blank of tapping Lachie Galvin up and saying what a wonderful player is this and that.
Well,
And
he
this
said all
again is where, and he said it on the show again. This is where the the grey area of Gus the GM and Gus the media figure gets blurred by a lot of people. I'm not saying it's right or wrong; it's just a fact.
Mm.
So, is it right that Gus has been looked at as trying to get this kid to the Dogs?
Everybody interprets it
Yep.
that, don't they? The fact that he said he's the best teenager he's ever seen, that he will earn more money in the game than anybody else. So, I understand why shows fill their content with the fact that Gus is making a play for Lachlan Galvin. I've asked Gus directly. He has said, no, he's not. But, whether that changes in time, who knows?
It sounded like the other night that Gus isn't prepared for the Dogs to offer this guy anything more than 600 for the next 3 years because of his way of...
I know how Gus thinks in those instances, and he does not think that a 19-year-old kid, whether it be Nathan Cleary or Lachlan Galvin, should be on a contract that is worth anywhere near what has been offered. I mean...
He's saying 22-year-old is when 22 to 24 is your years to start building up heavily with your money, and 24, 25 is when you become a $1 million
Nathan
player.
Cleary, he did the Nathan Cleary contract, and it was nothing. It wasn't not for the average Joe, it was a lot of money, but it was nothing like he's on now.
Yeah.
But it did go up to the point where he could become, and I think in that contract he did become a $1 million player. But it would have been 500, 700. I don't know the numbers, but.
Yeah.
In Lachlan Galvin's case, to avoid the pressure, you do a 600, 700, 800, $1 million, something like that. And Chammy knows more about the numbers than I do.
If you're his manager and you truly want what's best for the kid,
yes,
you make sure that you do a deal that's worth less than what the Tigers got.
But now
to shut the narrative up,
that
it was about money.
Given we talk about this all the time about what deals are acceptable to the NRL and all that, can they table a deal like that, and will it be acceptable to the NRL?
Well, the Tigers never tabled a formal offer.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Is Lachlan Galvin going to be a 2026 Tiger?
No.
So Chammy brought up a really interesting point about the perceived bullying, and that is exactly the way this will progress. I think you're right. I think that whether it's real bullying or not, we don't know, but there is a case to say this is a work environment that is not acceptable.
Can I make this point?
Well, you're going to anyway.
I'm going to. If you're Lachie, he may not have some of those guys may not be his mates.
Yeah.
But he does have mates in that football team. And if you're seeing that the way these players are treating Lachlan Galvin, how does that make you feel? And I'm worried about the divide that causes in that team, which is becoming such a good football team to watch.
Yeah.
This has become a divisive issue that if they don't get ahead of this and stop the players from making these public outbursts and making this guy feel like he's scum of the earth, what does it do to Talon Da Silva? Talon Da Silva's one of his close mates.
Is he managed by Isaac?
No, he's not.
Okay.
No.
In the wild, do tigers eat their young?
I don't know.
Because
do I look like David Attenborough?
I don't know. it's along those lines.
Are you worried about player power?
I'm not worried about player power. I'm worried about
Benji apparently wasn't going to
Chammy
wasn't going to drop him.
Not apparently. He was not going to drop him.
So Luai and Coruscant say we don't want to play with this bloke. Drop him.
That's
so he does that. So
would have been more than those two. Like
you know what though?
Yeah, but they're the two senior players.
You know what though? It's probably looking at it again. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I don't know what exactly Lachlan Galvin brings in a tactical sense to that team. You see him play and you go, wow, he's a good player. But is it not for the best that he just takes a step back in front of a full house, doesn't be involved in that game, which he dominated, oddly enough, 12 years ago.
I agree.
12 months ago, he was superb. But just for a week.
I don't think it's coming from a place where they think they're looking after the kid.
No,
it's coming from a place where they don't want him around, mate. Yeah. That's the problem.
That's huge. That's huge, isn't it? Like, I look, in an ideal world, I would have liked to have seen him play this week and stand up, have a blinder and say, this is the bloke I am, this is the player I am, this is what I am worth all of the fuss. And look what I can do, even under the most extreme pressure, because that's what he's under. Yeah. He's under extreme. And we haven't really said in this podcast anywhere that I know we're hard-nosed journos, but I hope Lockie's okay because this is a lot of pressure.
Apparently he's quite rattled, and you feel for the kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's probably best he doesn't play, but Lidcombe Oval on Monday, it's going to be a
But
crowd.
Do you know what, mate? There's been noise since the off-season that Jerome has preferred Latu to Galvin anyway.
Yeah. Did you write? I
never wrote it. I had a private conversation with you about it in Vegas.
Yeah.
And I spoke about that. There's drama going to.
You said it was something to watch, didn't you?
I said this wasn't on the podcast, but the thing is, as journos, if you write that at a time where there is no issue, you're going to look stupid.
And it's one of those easily deniable stories, and so it gives other people have a crack at you and say, oh, there's nothing actually the matter. When actually there has been something the matter for a while.
So you store this in your memory bank, and when something erupts like it did this week, all this comes to the surface, and it's going to, and it's not going to end here. It's going to get uglier. And that's the problem.
How do you think it goes? We mentioned what's going to happen with Lockie.
Yeah, what does it look like in a month?
Is there a divide in the team?
Benji's got to be careful here. He's got to make sure that he gets everyone on the same page, because if he looks to be favouring certain people and the younger guys or the people on the edge of the roster start to feel like they're being ostracised, which has happened before. There are people in that team looked at the way he treated David Clemmer or looked at the way he treated John Bateman. Now, I know they're both Isaac clients, but this all goes back to Benji Marshall and how he handles the situation, because the narrative out there is that when Benji's off you, he turns on you.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
He turned on Dave Clemmer. He turned on John Bateman.
But these are, again, that's a big accusation. Turned on. What does turned on look like?
Well, once he doesn't want you as part of his plans,
Right.
you're out of his plans.
Frozen
So
out.
is there a way back? Like, can you come back?
There's no. But Benji's been like that as a player too. As a player,
You're being very critical of Benji.
I'm summing up the
You're
situation.
being very critical.
Benji's a great of the game. Benji is a great of the game. But the reality is, as a player, he walked out on the Tigers. As a player, there was a massive player power culture at the Tigers to the point where Tim Sheen's left. And they can blame whoever they want. They all blame each other. But over the course of history, Benji Marshall has been involved in so many player power issues at the West Tigers. I hope it's not coming back and how he's part of enabling a player power culture at the Tigers that's going to be the downfall of this club. They are building something so special. They could win a they're the Bulldogs of last year. They're building, and this time next year, they could be challenging for a title. But the decisions he makes over the next 6 months and making sure that the players are all on board and not some of them feeling ostracised is pivotal to that.
Who's under more pressure than Benji or Lachlan Galvin?
I don't know.
But
Galvin's not under pressure.
Well, he's going to be under pressure to show he's worth the money, that he can play to the level that everybody thinks.
I think there's enough intel in the game to realise that even if he
So
plays
you think,
reserve
so
grade
you
for
think
the
the
next...
jury's out on Benji then?
I'm not saying the jury's out on Benji. I'm saying that Lachie Galvin, in an odd kind of way, and this is if I was talking to a 19-year-old kid, 46-year-old to 19-year-old, I said, tomorrow's a new day. So in a month's time, even if you play the next month in reserve grade, just go and do your thing, because there are enough people in rugby league who believe in your talent that you're going to get your payday. You're going to get your day. It might not be today or this year or whatever with the West Tigers, but you're going to have your day. And what Chammy is saying, I don't know enough about Benji, but in terms of the coach and what has happened this week with the playing group and all of that, it's hard to look past
It's a lot on Benji.
What are you doing?
It's a lot on Benji.
You keep doing these weird Benji questions. What are you doing? What are you playing at?
I'm just curious.
No, don't give me that.
So I've known Benji for a long time.
Yeah, I know. You're sucking up right now. What are you doing?
I'm not sucking up to him.
So what are you trying to say? You don't think Benji's...
I didn't know, like you obviously know him better than I do. I didn't know that he was of that way, that he would, once you're out, there's no way back. I've heard a few things which I need to investigate further before I say them about what's been going on in regards to Benji and Lockie and those things. But I didn't know that it was such a my way or the highway with Benji. I didn't know that.
You're playing dumb. Anyway.
I'm not. I didn't know that.
I'm sorry for using the D word in front of you, son.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Just back to Lockie, one more thing I'd say is that he's got the advantage of letting his talent speak for him. He doesn't need to talk. He doesn't need to... He can just go out and play footy.
We'd like him to talk.
Well, yeah, you'd love him to talk. I don't think he will anytime soon.
Can I throw out a theory?
Here we go.
Can I throw something?
Is this to do with Hawaii?
GM theory.
No, we'll get to Hawaii later. I'm really excited about it. But what if Galvin went to Parramatta immediately? And Dylan Brown went to Newcastle immediately?
Yeah, but...
And Leo Thompson went to the Bulldogs immediately. You just need the Bulldogs to give the Tigers something, and then everyone gets something.
It's like an NBA trade. Like
Yes.
4 teams involved.
You're making peace in the world, Chammy.
Well, I think the only
give us
complication is the fact that I don't know if the Knights have enough money to make it happen right now.
Is there a piece of the puzzle that the Dogs could bait the Tigers with?
Why would you give, if you're the Dogs, why would you give anything? And that's the problem, because
Dogs are going fine as
they get
are.
Leo Thompson anyway next year.
they're
Why
going
would you give
fine.
up something that you don't want to give up?
Yeah.
That is the problem. Maybe another club can give the Tigers something.
Oh,
Who knows?
5-way trade.
Yes.
Well, let's get the whole comp involved. See if we can have a carousel with 17 clubs on board.
Well, who would you want if you're the Tigers from the Bulldogs? A centre and a back row they need. Would they give him Kickow or Cherry? That's not happening, is it?
Stephen Crichton?
No.
Lou, I'd like that.
Exactly.
Jerome would love it.
Well, maybe Jerome can get into Kickows here. Nah, Cameron's not giving anyone away. So not for Leo Thompson.
No.
He can get him next year.
Fun times. That was one story. Got plenty more after the break. Oh, that was a segment and a half. Let's get to some happier news. Now, I'm wondering why you came in your grass skirt today, Chammy? Because you're already packed your bags to Hawaii. Aloha.
I got a logo. I got everything ready to go.
This has had a bit of love.
But it's
Like,
because
it's
it's a
had a bit of
genius
love.
idea.
Hang on, you're labelling.
I got to give Ian Fuge, my sports editor, some credit too, because he's the brainchild as well.
Oh, hang on. So someone else's idea.
No,
and
no,
you've
no.
stolen it.
It's a joint. It's a bit
Joint venture, like your club that you support. Just on the only thing that I could think of that wasn't brought up over the weekend when you went and said it on your various 47 platforms that you're on.
How many platforms is it?
Yeah, he's captain platform, GM platform.
Mr. Speculation.
Mr. Speculation.
Captain Platform. Captain Planet was a good show back in the day.
Is the size of the field at
I
Hawaii's
didn't
new
think of that.
stadium?
I didn't think of that. What size is this field going to
Look,
be?
Because you
We're
can't have a
playing-
Vegas side field.
We're
You can't
playing
play
on
a
a slightly smaller.
We'll
field
figure
than
it out.
Vegas.
Surely that
We'll figure it
We'll
out.
get in contact with
I will.
the
Because
architects.
they're rebuilding the stadium.
Yes, tell them to widen things a
No,
little
I'm going to
bit.
ring PVL.
What?
Because I just need to.
We've had this
Now.
before.
I'm going to ring
We've
him.
done this
Because
before. and
I think it's a
hasn't-
great idea, and for it to happen, it needs to happen soon.
You've said it. He thinks it's a good idea.
He's going to think it's a good
Is he
idea.
going to answer?
I'm going to ring him.
Oh, this is great podcast material, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, because mate,
Fantastic.
if you want to get things done, you get things done.
Oh,
This is
is
the problem with you guys. You just dilly-dally around. Just get things done.
You guys.
Yeah.
Hello.
Pete, you're
Yes.
on a podcast, so don't say anything silly.
Oh, he answered.
Don't bag Andrew Abdo out. He's safe for now.
Mate, the only person I bag out is you. You're all over that, so.
I know, because you suck up to Danny all the time.
Oh,
Hello, Peter.
Hello, Danny. How are you, mate?
Good. Adam
At least
Peacock's here too.
There's one sensible person
Oh.
there. That's good. That's handy to know.
yeah, and a blow in from soccer. Adam Peacock here as well. Peter, g'day.
G'day, Adam. Well, there's two of you. Sorry, I forgot about you, Adam.
Speaking
All
of
good.
speaking of sensible, I'm ringing you about this idea. All right, Hawaii expansion team. Now, don't roll your eyes because
We're not rolling.
honestly, Pete, you're massive on trying to get the game to America, and I genuinely believe this is the gateway to North America. And you got a massive Polynesian community, corporate opportunities in America, a great friendly time zone for broadcasters.
He's on the cell.
Honest, yeah,
Let him speak.
I've got to sell
Let
it to
him
him.
speak.
I'm selling it to him
He's
first.
Got the
heard you.
chairman on the line.
Okay, I'm shutting up now. What do you think?
Mate, you've had some very harebrained ideas. Like, what was that last one? Wild card, calm card. I can't remember all the cards you had.
Tarot card.
But this one actually has merit. I
Oh.
think you
yes.
might be onto something on this one. I mean, out of 100 ideas, one's got to be a decent one, hasn't it, mate? That's-
In all seriousness, like, could you see a world where this is something you would explore? Because you could get.
Look, I can see the potential of a Hawaii situation because, as you say, it is the gateway to America and it's halfway to America. They're building a new stadium over there. There's a big Pacific Island population. So, look, there's certainly merit in exploring it because if our policy is to globalise the sport. So that's certainly one area that we can look at.
Have you spoken to Andrew about this?
I have spoken to Andrew about it, and
wow.
he likes the idea as well, and we're certainly going to explore it because we need to find new areas for generate revenue and TV broadcasts, etc. And that's the beauty of the new owners of Fox Sport is they do have a globalisation policy of taking the rugby league right around the world. So, and it doesn't mean that they get the domestic rights because they actually specialise in other jurisdictions other than the local jurisdiction. So, Hawaii would certainly be one of interest to them.
Peter, just if this does go ahead, can you do us on behalf of myself and Danny, make sure that you claim all the credit for the idea and don't give credit to the guy who originally came up with the idea if this gets off the ground?
No, I've already told him if it fails, it was his idea. If it succeeds, it's my idea. So he's already well aware of that. Don't worry about that.
Hey, Pete, can you get me a sunscreen sponsor? I don't handle the sun too well if I have to go to Hawaii.
Guys, why are you joking? We just got we got the chairman of the game basically saying we're going to Hawaii as the 18th, 19th, 20th team.
Because it's not always serious, James.
20th team.
20th team.
It's a few years away. We'll have faster jets and better technology by the time we do it.
Mate, honestly, I'm really excited. What role do I get in this? Like, what's my commission in all this?
Commission?
Oh, we might get you a surfboard or something like that.
Mate, I'm from Western Sydney. Ain't no surfboard coming to my house. I can tell you that much.
At Pond
Well, it won't get much use then, will it?
Yeah, I'll
Good
get
thing.
Chammy goes to the beach and swims in his footy shorts. So yeah, with Peter,
Mate, don't give me that side for God. If you're watching him swim.
what is the runway seriously with expansion? Like, what are we looking at? Time frame, runway, planning, all of those things that you do behind closed doors.
Look, Nick Politis raised a few years ago at an annual general meeting that, the ultimate goal for the competition is to have 20 teams, and it opens up so many opportunities. You can have two competitions going at the same time. You can do a lot of things, but the thing that attracts me the most is that every team can play each other once, and it will reduce the size of the season. It provide better product for the fan. So that's the objective. 20 teams. We've got 18 now with Papua New Guinea. We're still negotiating with Western Australia as the possible 19th team. And so there's an opportunity for 20 teams, and there's a few jurisdictions we'll look at. There's certainly one in Queensland. There's certainly one in the South Island of New Zealand, and now Hawaii 5-0. So there's definitely some options.
Have you bought the English Super League yet?
We're speaking to them. Mr. Chammas actually knows more than what we do. That's what surprises me.
Don't tell him that.
Oh, mate. He does. That's the fact. There were things in his story that I was certainly unaware of.
He does make things up sometimes, Peter.
No. Look, he's got a very good black book. I've got to give him that. So,
Listen, we wasted too much of the chairman's time. He's starting to get a bit edgy. Hey, Pete.
No, I'm fine, mate. You're the one that's getting edgy. Don't.
Because I need to go back and start working on this Hawaii project. These guys are wasting my time with this small fish podcast stuff. I've got a club to run.
Mate, there was a great movie called The Castle, and mate, you're the ideas man.
He's off to buy some jousting sticks, Peter. So
appreciate it, Pete.
At least I didn't say tell them they're dreaming. That's the main thing.
Exactly.
See you, mate. Take care.
Make him Dennis Denuto?
I don't know.
That's impressive, Champ.
Bro, he's in.
You're so excited about this.
He's in. I told you it's going to be my life ambition to make this happen.
Yeah.
He's in.
It feels like I'll be long gone before this happens, but it sounds exciting.
Well, that's potentially
down
a
the
reality. No, 2033, or that's not that far away.
No.
Maybe for you it is.
It is for me.
How much you got your super? You didn't start.
You've survived this long.
I'll give you a job. You know what? I'll give you a job in Hawaii.
I can't be the media guy.
You'll be the media manager,
I'll be too
or
sunburnt.
I'll hire you for the Hawaii Advertiser, whatever the newspaper's called,
Hawaii, yeah,
and you can just pump it up for us.
Okay, sounds good.
What are you going to be?
I'm GM.
GM.
You?
No. I want no part in it. I'll just come and visit. Give me some
Honestly,
tickets.
it'll happen. You're laughing now. This is going to happen.
I do like the idea.
It's going to happen.
I don't like complimenting you.
This guy makes things happen. He's going to make
Get
it
in
happen.
contact with that architect. You can't play on a skinny
I'm
field.
going
It's
to
gonna
Hawaii
affect
for
your footy
a study
team.
mission now.
Yeah. You want fast, big outside backs with plenty of room to move. You don't want to be running into the sidelines.
I'm going to get The Rock involved. The Rock, well, he's obviously got Polynesian heritage. He's Maui, so from Moana.
Okay.
There's a lot of connections there.
I'm not bagging it. I'd like to, but I'm not.
Back to more serious matters back here. Not that that's a serious
I can't
matter.
concentrate. I'm too excited.
Spencer Lanu, Jonathan Thurston. We spoke in the previous segment about what does it look like going forward. What does this look like going forward? Is it just play on? It happened the way it goes. If Thurston and Lanu want to speak to each other in private, go for it, boys.
But it's going to come up at times like Origin. I mean, Spencer, if he's part of the Origin team, if Jonathan's part of the, there's going to be conflict somewhere down the track.
Yeah, Jonathan's going to do a Channel 9 game where the Roosters are playing.
Something will
somewhere.
happen. Look, but hopefully they can look, Jonathan doesn't want action taken.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can sort it out behind closed doors, like it probably should have been in the first instance. I understand exactly why Spencer was angry.
Yep.
I get it. But I just think he picked the wrong time and wrong place. Simple as that. Shammy's got nothing. He's got.
I'm not here. You've lost me, boys.
He's thinking about grass.
You've
skirts.
lost me, boys. I'm in a different world right now.
In Chammy's head right now, there's a ukulele playing, and that's it.
Do you reckon he's ever seen the show? What was it? Hawaii 5-0?
No.
Never.
No, I watched Moana, though. Great movie.
You need to go back and watch old reruns of
Heath-
Hawaii 5-0.
Hey, you like Moana, don't you?
Got a little nod there.
Honestly, what we talking about? I don't really have much to. I'm gone.
You're done.
I'm
Okay.
rattled.
Mitch Moses, he's back for Parramatta
sign him.
this week. Apparently, in this game that has been talked about a little bit.
Yeah, it's massive inclusion. I don't know if he's quite over the line. He's looking good from the conversations I had with Parramatta yesterday. They think he'll play, so poor old Tigers. Like, he has to return against them Easter Monday, his old club, in the week that there's having so much turmoil. It's the script is being written, isn't it, for a Mitchell Moses field goal in the 80th minute to win the game.
And I mean, look, Parramatta's season looks like it's not much at the moment.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether he can rescue their season. But what I'm interested with Mitchell Moses is Origin. and whether he can get back into the kind of form that makes him the guy again, because he was brilliant. Like, he was brilliant in Origin.
Well, it'll
last
be
year.
Jerome versus Mitchell Moses for the New South Wales number 6 jersey.
Mm.
It's going to be a massive game
It's
this weekend.
huge. And Jerome's been pretty good, I think, for the Tigers. He hasn't been setting the world on fire.
Yeah, just changing their.
Yeah.
He's just been
He's
such
played
a
different
steady
role, hasn't he?
influence.
He's been a different.
So my favourite footy show, as I've mentioned a few times, with all due respect to 100% footy, is Matty and Cronk.
Get out.
And Cooper Cronk Matty and Cooper broke it down beautifully
Yes.
about
And
Jerome.
what did they
Yeah.
say?
He doesn't have that run first mentality at the moment. They actually said the same thing about Nathan Cleary. It's the run first mentality. It's
So you're
not
saying
looking to
our halves are out of form? Could be.
at the moment. Not out of form, Jerome Luai, because he's playing a different role. He's playing an
totally
organiser role.
different. Totally
Which
different.
he won't
Cooper's-
do in New South Wales.
No.
He'll back to the running Jerome, the dancing man, and that's what he's brilliant at.
But Cooper was saying that with the Tigers, he's trying to be the orchestrator too much,
Well, he has to
whereas
be.
his actual strength
Yeah.
is run first,
Yep.
pass second.
Yep.
And like the way that they summed it up in this week was so good. And there's a lot of noise about rugby league this week, and stuff like that gets lost.
Yeah, I'll
that's
have to
what
go back and
annoys
watch
me
it.
about these
I
stories.
do like
sometimes.
that show. You always learn something from that.
Yeah, but that's the take on Jerome
Did
Luai.
you
But
just
you're right.
give
it's-
Fox Sports a rap?
Yeah, I like the Maddie and
I know,
Cronk
it's great.
show.
I do too. I
think
just
it's
didn't
very
expect
good.
you to ever
I've
speak
got
highly.
I've got a very high opinion about those guys.
Yeah.
but with
Well, it's the best footy analysis you can get.
But with Mitchell Moses and Parramatta, it does feel like it could turn this away from being a complete. Remember Cameron
No.
Ciraldo's first season with the Bulldogs?
I still don't
The
see
way it
him.
was going?
I don't see him turning the whole season.
That to me, Parramatta at the moment feel like the first year at the Bulldogs under Ciraldo, it was like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of work here to do. It can turn quickly with the right recruitment and everything that the Dogs did,
recruitment, but
and coaching, which
they
Ciraldo's
still don't
done.
have Zach Lomax playing, who is
That's
probably
a
probably their best
big
player.
Yeah.
When they were going through the early struggles.
But it's like at the moment, it feels like Parramatta's blowout after blowout. Like zero surprise that they got 50 put on by Canberra
zero
last week.
surprise.
So how does it turn around? I mean, I think it does help a lot to give them a lot more direction with Mitchell Moses there.
Do you I know we spoke about like the impact of no Luai on Penrith and how it's changed the way Nathan plays, but I get the sense that the impact of Jerome Luai is not just football. Him, Taruva, the impact on that team in terms of their energy, in terms of their motivation, I think it's quite telling. And I feel like you have a football team now who's just lost that motivation and that drive to do what they've
Which
done
football
over
team?
and over again. Penrith.
Right.
I reckon they've lost a little bit of organisation without having Jerome there.
But also to Danny's the story Danny did last year, which he was right about Brian or potentially want to look for the exit doors.
Yeah.
Even Brian, they don't look like they're bouncing off the walls like they used to be.
Well, he's barely played, Brian.
Yeah, I'm not saying football wise, even just being around that campus, speaking to people, it feels like that maybe they're just finally bored. It sounds stupid.
They were a bit different in Vegas, weren't they? They were a bit different. Their approaching them was different. And you speak to people around the club and they say, well, they're just like over dealing people like us.
Yeah,
they don't want to deal with us anymore.
I just think they're tired, not just football fatigue physically,
but they're
but
humans,
just tired.
right?
Yeah,
You can't stay
I'm
up.
not criticising them. They're the greatest team of the modern era.
Like, Chammy, you can't scoop everybody every day.
Tries.
Well, yeah.
I'll give you a
tired
scene.
You told me you can.
I'll give you a scene from 2 years ago, I think it was, 3 years ago. They were at a final shoot, and there was another club there, and it was a final shoot for Fox, that big extravaganza they do with the band and everything like that. So they were doing team by team. There was another club there, and there was Penrith there. Penrith had travelled an hour in a bus, all together. They were all in their playing kit. It was on a Tuesday night at 6:30. They'd all be happily at home with their families and everything like that. Someone bought a pack of Uno cards, and they made up some game where they were tossing Uno cards in the middle, and if someone doubled the number or something like that, and they looked like they were having the best time.
Yeah.
Like they all looked like a bunch of 18-year-olds at schoolies. They were having the best time. Whereas the other club that was there, it was like, oh, why are we here?
And it's
So you don't get that feeling
No.
that
it's a different team.
vibe is
Chammy.
there.
It's a different team. All the energy's gone out of
It's
the
a
team.
different team.
Jerome's gone.
The young
Taruva's
guys are
gone.
quieter. Yeah.
They were the two
Nathan's
renowned.
quiet. He's a quiet.
He is.
And so Yoey's quiet. They're all sort of. They don't have. I get what you're saying. They don't have that spark.
I could see your story bubbling up again.
the To'o one.
Yeah.
we'll see. Let's not start creating
Not
stories.
because-
Rugby league gives
No,
us
I know-
enough
I know.
stories to
I
work
just
with.
feel like he'd be looking at his mates.
His
He'd be looking
mates,
at Crichton.
It's-
Be looking at Taruva
And they've
and
achieved so much already.
the excitement of having
Yeah.
another challenge. Like, as stupid as this all sounds, maybe they just will get bored having the success that they've had, and they want a new challenge in their life. Look what it's done to Crichton. Sorry,
Good.
stupid suggestion, but
Good Friday. Speaking of Crichton, Good Friday. That's the game that shapes the narrative, as far as I'm concerned, because you want to celebrate the game, and 70,000 perhaps at a core stadium.
Football, are we?
Yeah, it's amazing. Quick one though, because we're not experts. Well, I'll say it for myself. I don't know about you guys.
For me,
I'm just an ideas man.
Dogs still undefeated. Fresh. Poor old South have had to come from the other side of the country on a shorter turnaround. Dogs get back Burton. South do get back Cody Walker, we understand. Does Lewis Dodd.
Yeah.
Latrell, big game player. This is a big occasion.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's unreal to think where the Bulldogs have come from, that just a couple of years ago that they're could get 60, 70,000 people there. It's going to be a majority. You think
we're getting
Bulldogs,
60, 70 put on.
I love that it's
games.
reciprocal membership rights. So if you're a member of both clubs, you can get into the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. Great move. Great move.
It is. Like, this game is always good. I think it's 10 years since the James Graham, David Clemmer, that blow up with
the finger point.
Yes, the sort of
the knuckle point.
The knuckle point.
Yeah,
and it's just got a history, doesn't it? It's one of the best. Like, I think Anzac Day is the best club game of the year. But this is right up there.
Yeah,
right. And if they get 70,000 there, it challenges that Anzac Day game massively, doesn't it? As the best game of the year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Souths have performed better than we thought. The Dogs are performing probably better than we thought, but it's a proper test. Yeah, it's. I'm excited for this.
Absolutely. Well, man of the match today on the podcast is none of us three. It's Danny Jr. over there, who has sat here for an hour.
What a good boy.
Zoned out from us and played cards and done some great drawing. Yeah. So
I don't know how you raise the child that can sit there for an hour, sit still and be quiet.
Just because you can't.
Can you give me some tips?
I can't.
You're like the Benji Marshall of fatherhood.
Hang on, is that good or bad in this instance?
Oh, sorry.
He's a calm person. You, on the other hand,
calm.
Your kids have got no hope of just being able to sit in a corner.
No.
Given the bloodlines.
My poor wife, I've left her on school holidays. That house is chaos. Shout out to Danielle.
You're a good boy, Heathy.
Yes, Danny Jr. Yeah, thumbs up. Chammy, thanks for that. It was enlightening.
How much trouble have I got myself into today? Honestly, who's not talking to me anymore?
Everyone.
Honestly, why do I do this?
You got a 5K exclusion zone in the suburb of Concord.
Well, I got to rock up tomorrow. I think.
Yeah, good luck.
I think Jerome, Appy, Richo, and Benji are doing media, and I've got to rock up tomorrow and see how that goes down.
All the best, Danny. You too.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great Easter.